Okay, welcome everybody. Day one is completed, which is typically like most day ones, I would imagine, for everybody across the country, where everybody's energy level is high and the attitude is good. Excited about getting back, to playing ball and blah, 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 all that good stuff. So, it was a successful day, and camp is a process, so we'll line up, do it again tomorrow before we actually get pads on, where we can kind of start hitting each other a little bit, which is obviously a little bit more like real football. So, but the energy level is good and the attitude was good, and everybody's excited about getting back to work. So with that, I'll take some questions.
What do you take out of a day one? I mean, you kind of said blah, 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 but it's not just back to basics, I imagine. What are the things you're looking at when the guys are out there for the first time?
Communication, probably more than anything. I mean, we're still going to go through our install. You do your best on teaching technique, but without actually colliding, it's hard to teach a lot of techniques. So you look at, just the way the guys communicate, the tempo they play with, the attitude they play with, the energy they play with, and then, getting in and out of the huddle, getting the calls, communicating the calls, and then knowing what their assignment is, so was pleased with how that went. I mean, these guys have been practicing all summer this stuff, and this was the first time that we were able to watch it, but didn't see a whole lot of mental bust. There's going to be a lot of mental bust with very new guys, which existed a few times, but overall I thought it was well, from an assignment standpoint, and as camp goes on, we'll focus more on what the technique aspects of things are and continue to try to get them to play with high level of effort.
Dana, long ago they used to worry about conditioning at this point in time. Is that a given now? You don't even concern yourself because they've done it all summer?
Very much so. Yeah, I think our guys are in phenomenal shape. I like the way our team looks. It looks to me, and our staff has been talking about this all since yesterday, since they came back, and it's been 8-9 weeks since we've seen them, and the team continues to change as guys are added, which we feel like we've done a good job of recruiting and getting guys in here that have a different body type and upgrading the level of athlete that we bring in. But think our guys are in pretty good shape. They look good to us, and they look like they're in pretty good shape. And, I do give Mike Joseph and his staff a lot of credit. They've done a great job for the last 9 weeks, all of them. And, we've had this discussion a bunch about how voluntary it is in the summer, but we had a high level of participation, and you can tell by the way those guys are running around and how they look.
Speaking of that, Dan, I haven't seen very many people change as much as Quentin Spain has. He's really become a man. Can you talk a little bit about that? What happened with him?
Well, he's just matured. I mean, guys mature. One of the most frustrating things for us to do offensively is rely on young offensive linemen. That's hard. It's just a very, very, very hard position to play at a young age. And when he was first here, I wasn't here, but the stories I heard was about 390 pounds or whatever it is. And when I was first here, he wasn't a starter for the first year, but he's really improved himself. His off season was good. It's the reason I took him to the media days this year, is because he had a phenomenal off season, and he was one of our vocal leaders and was in really good shape, and his participation was pretty good. Those guys mature. They mature mentally and they mature physically, and once they do, they're ready to play. That Fight's kind of the same way. I mean, him and Fight were both backups my first year here, and Fight has lost like 20 pounds. He's down to about 310. He was up to about 340 at one point, so he looks good as well.
Transfers in your junior college players are obviously experienced, but not experienced here. Can those guys become leaders?
Yeah, we talked about that last night in our team meeting. I mean, everybody in the whole room can become leaders. If I ask you to define a leader, I mean, I'm going to get 100 different answers in this room probably, So everybody can become leaders. They got to lead themselves first and do everything right, and then they got to play. So once they can get on the field, you know, and it may, you know, one of our best leaders may be a guy that plays 6 snaps a game. You know, it just depends. I mean, it's, you know, it just depends on how you want to define a leader. But yeah, I think so. You know, and I think that'll happen too. You know, based on what I saw today, you know, if you know, we're putting guys in specific spots to get a lot of playing time, if they can adjust to how we do things around here, then yeah, I think that can happen pretty quick.
Most programs envy having experienced guys in the program, guys that played. You'd love to have all seniors or whatever that have been there 4 years or 5 years. You could put a lot of people out on that field for the first game that weren't here last year. I mean, and probably will.
More than likely will.
What does that do for you? I mean,
It happens. I mean, it's college football. Guys graduate. They graduate. They move on, and you replace them. Sometimes you replace a lot of seniors. Sometimes you don't. I mean, that's not something that I worry about. Every year is different. You know, you can't worry about what happened the previous year. You got a lot of seniors come back. Sometimes it's hard to get them to progress. You know, so I don't worry about that. I'm not losing sleep over the fact that we lost a lot of seniors. We're all excited about coaching the current guys that we have and getting them ready to be the next superstars or whatever, you know. I mean, you're going to lose guys. You're going to lose starters. You're going to lose guys in the NFL, and you replace them with guys that, you know, that you can count on to be able to put them in the position to be able to be successful. And I think that's where we're at right now. I feel good about where we're at right now.
You spoke pretty highly of Charles Sims last week. What's the feedback you're seeing from his teammates, his position coach?
It's all positive. Yeah, he's a good kid. Works hard.
You try to like shake out a running back. Is it a depth chart, or is it guys fitting in different roles and different packages and things like that? And when is that kind of process?
Yeah, it's a hard position to play because you ask them to do so many different things. We've been living on the edge here for the last 2 years with not very many of them. So it's nice to look out there and see 4 or 5 guys that have the potential to all be starters. You know, whether it's in specific packages or a specific year. You're looking at 4 guys that have started college football games out there before. So it makes the competitiveness good. If there's a lot of competitiveness within a room, it's going to make everybody in the room better. And that's what I see right now.
Dana, can you talk about health issues and also any of the incoming kids, Howard, McDonald?
Yeah, there's you know, you saw the 2 guys in red. I mean, Pankey's really ahead of schedule with his knee. He's doing great. Shelton Gibson's tweaked his knee a couple weeks ago. He's progressing as well as possible. McDonald's still working through NCAA. Nobody's been ruled out. McDonald's working through clearinghouse issues. Howard's working through clearinghouse issues. And Devontae Henry, who's been here for a little bit this summer, is working on some personal issues.
Talked about the communication before. What did you see today? If you could go a little more in depth on that, on the communication level, guys who were, I guess, impressive in day one.
Oh, I don't know. I can't answer that. You know, I thought you know, communication needs to exist. It's one of the things that we worked on. It's one of the things that we're focusing on. And you know, was it bad? No. Was it phenomenal? No. Is it where we want it to be? Not yet. We'll keep working on it. Something that needs to exist every day. We'll talk about it every day. If we're not communicating, then the people don't know what to do, and then we got a problem.
Is it too early to see some leaders emerging on offense?
Yes, way too early.
Dana, you said last week that it might take you a day or 2.5 weeks to figure out who your quarterback is. I'm assuming that it's not a day.
Not today.
What did you see from the guy that you hadn't seen before today?
Clint, yeah, he's good. He's seasoned. You know, he doesn't get nervous. You can tell that he's got some game experience. You know, he's right now got the look when he's looking at me on the sidelines and I'm signaling. He just kind of stares right through me because he does. It's not automatic to him right now, which is to be expected. But threw the ball good, you know, and for a guy who it's his very first practice here, I thought he did good. And again, I'm not judging the specific throws or checks or any of that. I'm just watching him operate. You know, I'm watching him getting the signals and communicating it to the O-line and then executing the play to where it resembles football, and I thought he did all right there.
How about Paul and Ford there? I mean, were they doing anything differently today than the last time you saw them when you guys left off in April?
I don't know. They have ability to be able to run the offense and throw the ball, but we're not moving the ball. We're just running plays. So if it's a good play or bad play, boom, we're just moving on to the next one. We'll critique it tonight in film meetings, but you know, we'll get through the off. We'll do 3 days to where there's no consequences for any of the actions, so to speak, whether it's a good play or a bad play. We're just running plays right now to get all the offense installed, and then we'll start getting into more situational stuff to where they got to understand what the situation is, get us in better plays, and that's when I'll start judging whether they can be the guy or not.
Then is your installation going to be different considering you have so many guys that could factor in that weren't even here in the spring?
Nah, about the same.
Dana, the fact that he's probably got more, actually he does have more college experience than the other guys, and I know it's a different place, but how in these first couple of days can he move that from Tallahassee to here and kind of establish a voice or at least a figure at that position?
Presence. His presence. I mean, you throw a guy in there that is taking snaps in our offense for the first time, and if there's hesitation and panic and nervousness and lack of communication and all that stuff, then we got a little bit of an issue. And you know, I knew he would handle that well. That's not something that I'm concerned with him. So, you know, just by the calmness that he possesses, that, you know, Ford and Paul possess that calmness right now too, because they understand what's going on around them. You know, so that I think Clint can get in the mix to be the guy because he has that in his personality.
Talk about all these guys that are either missed spring or went to another program last year and things. You got a running back this year or just this week committed to the program next year. Him having a whole year, you know, going forward rather than having jumped right in, would he be able to hit the ground running then come next year?
Who are you talking about? I don't know who you're
Russell
talking about.
Shell?
Yeah, I can't talk about any recruits like right now, so I can confirm that we're recruiting them. That's all I can do with them. We're going to talk about the 102 guys that are on our roster right now.
Dana, the 102, and I'm assuming that the reason it's not 105 is because of Howard, McDonald, and Henry. Okay. You've got 3 punters in there and 1 kicker. Are you that unsure about your punters, or are you that sure about your kicker? Is it? It just seems an odd
I didn't even
mix.
know we had a third punter, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I didn't.
I pay attention to the specialists when they do good, or unfortunately when they do bad, and then I lose my mind on them. You know, but we signed Nick O'Toole. I mean, you know, Molinari's been here for going on 3 years now. He's a great kid. He's a 4.0 student. He has game experience, but Nick O'Toole you guys saw him. He's a big, impressive-looking guy that can flip the field on you in a hurry. Didn't know about the third guy, to be honest with you. I'm not quite sure what his role is. I guess he was punting out there a little bit.
Is Lambert the only kicker that you have?
We have a couple more that are waiting in the wings, you know. So we'll as we can bring those guys in, we'll bring them in. I know two are scheduled to come for when when school starts, you know. And if we have room to bring them in earlier, we've already talked about bringing them in earlier.
It just seems that if you're not bringing another kicker in to at least get a look at him early, then you may feel pretty confident about Josh Lambert.
Josh Lambert is our kicker. Yes, we feel comfortable with Josh. We feel good about Josh. He is our kicker.
During the portion of practice,
Don't know if he's our kickoff guy. We'll figure that one out, but he's our kicker.
During the part we saw, it seemed like you were paying special attention, extra attention to the defensive side of things. What did you like today out of the defense, and how far has that come with these guys working on their own for the last few months?
Really good. Was impressed with their energy. We're so much deeper and so much more experienced. You know, it shows. It shows out there. Those guys were aligned quickly. And we had about 3 deep repping out there. I can't remember ever repping more than like 1.5 deep last year. But it seems like we're a lot deeper. We got more people in position. that have taken snaps here in the past, and there's a lot of competition battles going on, you know, with the guys maturing and then new guys coming in that look like they got a chance to be able to get in position to play pretty quick. So I'm usually down there during that time, and then I switch over to offense quickly thereafter. But I really liked how they flew around and liked how they communicated and liked how they got lined up real quick.
How much did that lack of depth hurt the defense last year, and how much, I guess, are you looking forward to?
Do we have to talk about last year? I'd rather talk about 2013. We all understand the situation we were in last year. We're not going to keep focusing on what happened defensively in 2012. There's a lot of the same people that are now a year older. It's really pretty close to the same system, and we have a lot more depth. So I'm pretty excited about where we're at.
Coach, when you look at the video from today, what are some of the smaller things you and the staff will be looking for?
More assignment than anything, because again, without pads, you really can't focus on what their technique is. You can with some receiver and some DB stuff, but in the line of scrimmage trenches stuff, it's hard to focus on a lot of the technique and the physicality of it and the effort and all that stuff. So more assignment, just lining up in the right spots and going to the right spots. You know, and it'll probably remain that way for a couple of days before we really start teeing it up.
You guys missed spring because of injury. Chestnut, they were all out there today. Everybody 100%, no issues. Think they're all good?
Yeah, just the only two guys that are limited are the two I talked about. So other than that, the rest of those guys are, you know, in the full swing of things.
What are you expecting to see from Ivan McCartney? Or have you talked to about
improvement?